Hello, I'm cowboy bootmaker Lisa Sorrell, and this week we're going to talk about skiving knives. When it comes to skiving knives, you've got several options. This one's called a skive, and it's just a razor blade in here, and it's at a curve. In my opinion, if you've got one of these, just throw it away. This is a flexible skiving knife, so when you skive with it, you can flex the blade and create a curve. I learned to skive on one of these, and I now hate them. They're great for skiving off strips. Like if you have a long strip and you need to cut off pieces of it, then they're great for just cutting pieces off of a strip. But I don't like skiving with them as a rule. This is a skiving knife that a friend of mine from Hungary gave me. And it's a good knife, but I have never mastered the art of sharpening a curve. So that's the main reason I don't care for that one, is I just don't like to sharpen a curve. We're going to skip over to this one. Shoemakers in Europe tend to use these curved knives, and they're really hard to sharpen because not only is it a curve, it's also at an angle. It's curved this way too. These, in my opinion, work best for splitting. Like if you have 6-ounce leather and you need to thin it down to 3 ounces, these work great for that. I don't particularly like those for skiving either. When I have a class, this is the knife that I have my students skive with. It's cheap, it's got a disposable blade, and so I don't spend the whole class time sharpening everyone's knife. It's not the best option, but it'll get you started, and you don't have to worry about learning to sharpen while you're learning to skive, because they're both hard to do. So that way you only learn one at a time. This is the kind of skiving knife I like to use. It's flat, and the benefit of having the completely flat knife without a round handle like that, when you have a flat knife, then you can skive with it. You can get your angle down because your fingers aren't in the way. By the time you have a round handle and then your fingers, you can't get the angle correct because you're being held up against the surface. So with this one, you can get right down on the leather and get a nice angle. And this is the one I'm going to demonstrate today. This is 3/4 inch wide. This is 1 inch wide. You can get a wider skive if you need a very wide skive. You can get a wider one with the 1 inch wide blade. But I don't have the 1 inch ones in stock right now. I only have the 3/4 inch wide blades. So I'm going to show this one and demonstrate how to use it. So I want a nice long angle to make a wide skive. And for this 2-ounce leather, a wide skive is going to be about 1/4 inch wide. So that's what you should have. When you skive, try to have something like this. Skiving this is fuzzing. That's not skiving, that's fuzzing. It will take you a very long time if you do that, and it won't ever look nice either. Another thing, when you're skiving, never ever have your fingers like this. You need to keep it taut, because if you get slack in it, then you'll end up skiving chunks out of it. But don't keep it taut by putting your fingers on both sides of the knife, because what will happen is your knife will slip and you will slice your thumb open. So keep your fingers behind it and hold it taut from the back. See how I'm kind of curving it and pulling it away so that it will stay taut? So that's a wide skive. Now if I wanted to do a narrow skive would be the part that goes on top, because when you're stitching, you want to be stitching through full or almost full thickness of leather. So a narrow skive is the one that you stitch through. So I would adjust the angle and just barely take any off. And there we've got a narrow skive, but we're still down to a feather edge right on the edge. So I'm sure some people are thinking, why doesn't she just get a skiver? A skiver works great for a long edge like this. I could use a skiver there. But a skiver cannot do inside a flower. There's no way to get a skiver in there. And I spend most of my time doing intricate things like this. And so here I would have to be able to skive by hand. I'm going to show you something here. I'm going to turn the knife around. If I tried to start on this point, it would wrinkle up. So now I'm going to turn it over and come the other way off the point. What I was doing first, that's pull skiving because I'm pulling towards me. And this is push skiving because I'm pushing away from me. Some people prefer pull skiving, some people prefer push skiving. Doesn't really matter. I do want to briefly demonstrate using this wider knife. This is a 5-ounce piece of leather. It needs a wide skive that's about 1/2 inch to 5/8 of an inch wide. And that narrower knife just isn't wide enough to do it. And so when I need a wider skive on a heavy piece of leather, then I'll move to this wider knife. And it lets me get a nice wide skive. And now you know the Lisa Sorrell method of skiving. I like to use a flat blade. I don't have the 1-inch wide blades available now, but I will soon. If you're interested in a 3/4 inch wide blade, they're available on my website. Just go to lisasorrell.com and click on products. And you'll be skiving just like Lisa. Thanks. See you next week.